Big news. We have this from Scanner, scnr.com. EU considers sanctioning Tucker Carlson over interview with Vladimir Putin. Officials say any sanctions would likely require proof that Carlson is linked directly to Moscow's aggression, which is a meaningless statement because they will just come out and be like, Tucker Carlson ran cover for Vladimir Putin. Lawmakers in the EU are weighing sanctioning news media heavyweight Tucker Carlson as a result of his forthcoming interview with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov confirmed Tucker had met and talked with Putin, as did the former Fox News anchor himself in a post to social media platform X explaining why he sat down with the head of Russia. EU officials are considering imposing a travel ban on Carlson, who they say is acting as a mouthpiece for Putin. Quote, as Putin is a war criminal and the EU sanctions all who assist him in that effort, it seems logical that the External Action Service examine his case as well. There's an important takeaway from this. I mentioned it in the introduction to the show. Why would anyone, political, celebrity, personality, journalist, why would anyone care that Tucker Carlson interviewed the president of a country we're not at war with? Are they going to cry and complain Xi Jinping came to California or came to the United States? No, they don't care. Oh, it's because the reality is we are at war with Russia. And what's going on in Ukraine is just the U.S. using them as a proxy to go to war with Russia. We all know it. Everyone in Europe knows it. Chuck Schumer said we could lose this war. And so there it is, right in front of your face. The fascinating thing is, at least when we invaded Iraq, we knew that we were going to war. They said it. Since then, I think the deep state, the establishment has just figured out, don't say you're going to war. Just do it. Just go. Here we are.
It's wild. I mean, I think with sort of like we were talking about before, the rebranding of Ukraine, there has also been a long time narrative that Russia is the biggest enemy we have. And I think you're right to bring up China and especially everything, all of the comments about the Uyghur Muslims and everything else that has gone on there. We definitely treat these two world powers very differently. I think, you know, it's obviously, in my opinion, brave and admirable that Tucker's going to interview someone who is controversial. I think the fact that so many European countries have said we're going to try and shut Russia's access to the Western world down, both economically and socially, is disturbing. I think they are ultimately feeding a lot of propaganda to their own people. And if we're not at war, then what could Putin say? Yeah, you know, if he's such a horrible person, what is he going to say that you think you can't refute in your own media?
If the Russians were the aggressors and we wanted this war to end, then diplomacy would be good. You could go talk to him. Maybe he would stop fighting. But that they seem to not want diplomacy, which indicates that maybe we're the aggressors here. And it's kind of like if I come up to you and I'm like, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you, but I'm an inch away from your face. I'm aggressing on you. Even though if you swat my hand away, I was the one that was aggressing on you.
See, I think they don't want transparency. I think, you know, there were all these stories for a while. Vladimir Putin is super sick and he's going to die at any second and that will cause chaos. And Russia is going into an election year. If someone were to, you know, speak to Putin and say, are you sick? You know, maybe he'd lie, but at least you would have a Western outlet asking a question instead of it coming telephone through Europe. I think the ultimate goal is to make it so Russia is too far out of touch for anyone to communicate with. And so you have to rely on agencies like the UN or other European, you know, large scale government entities to say, this is what Russia's doing. Believe us. Don't question it at all.
And by the way, if all of these news outlets really hate state-run media so much, I believe I'm not mistaken, it's the New York Times, I think CNN too, the Washington Post, they take money from China Daily to run advertisements in their papers. These have all organizations and these journalists have all partnered with Chinese state-run media outlets. I'm pretty sure Tucker said that they've reached out to Zelensky to try to interview him, but they haven't heard anything back. But you're so right. This narrative that they're opposed to peace talks and that you've seen, at least in whether it's The Atlantic, CNN, you see op-eds all the time. And it's so interesting. One of the stories that we were working on at War Room, a lot of the refrain, that like anti-peace talk narrative, even there was an op-ed, the title was like, peace talks are, quote, counterproductive, which is just kind of an asinine take in my opinion. But a lot of those people, the authors behind it, you know, are luminaries. The I always say they're like the impeachment witnesses of Trump's first impeachment, like the Brookings think tank types who, the elites that we should trust. But they are all fellows and advisors at that U.S.-Ukraine Business Council, but they never disclose those conflicts of interest in those op-eds. So part of it, I think, is the ideological compromise. They really do believe that Ukraine is like, if we don't win, Russia bad. But there also is a very clear financial interest there. And I just think it's interesting that they never disclose that.
Well, we have one of the greatest tweets ever in the history of Twitter, and it is here. Glenn Greenwald tweeted, "Who were the American journalists who conducted even minimally adversarial interviews with Zelensky?" To which Elon Musk responded, "To be fair, it's hard for them to talk while giving a blowjob at the same time." And that may be one of the greatest tweets ever made. And I just screenshotted it, and I had to post it on X. But as much as all of us are laughing, and I'm sure some of you may be putting earmuffs on your kids and hoping you have to explain to them what that meant. We do have this from End Wokeness, a very pressing and important interview from CNN with Zelensky of Ukraine. I'd like to play for you now this very, very important interview.
As a human being, so many people look up to you. They rely on you. No one can imagine how hard that is. Do you do anything for yourself? Are you ever able to take a minute to read or to listen to music or something to sort of give yourself a moment?
I have such moments important to be in silence, to be alone. And early in the morning when there are no sounds, no people, nobody. I mean, the people, our staff. I mean, no.
Okay, well, clearly, I think they added the music to that one, but it is still funny.
I was like, wow, I was like, the music. If the music is really on that, that's amazing.
Did they mess with the editing to like get the close-ups of her face looking sad? Because that is cringy.
Well, I think that's
ridiculous.
Yeah, all that's an edit.
Okay.
The questions from Aaron Burnett, that is really what she's asking. It is the least adversarial thing we have ever seen, and that is what they expect
Started
of
off
you.
as a human being. That's what you call humanizing someone. So they're humanizing Zelensky. That's a tactic.
That's right.
And you
And everyone looks up to him. So it's a very fair and even interview. I mean, I don't think I've ever looked up to Zelensky. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure who she's referencing.
I think
here.
you probably looked down.
Oh, wait.
I read too.
Here we go. Zelensky reveals his favorite band.
Who
Look
is
at
it?
that.
Three Dog Night.
Ukrainian. Well, I'll just play it. I'm pretty.
Yo, if he likes Three Dog Night, I'm giving him a chance.
We got an ad. A birth control ad.
Oh, nice.
Thank you, CNN.
Thanks,
Unless I'm wrong.
You got to pay.
Something
Hey!
else.
You got to pay your dues if you want to watch CNN. Okay.
If you pay extra and you're
Look how
one of the
happy
rich
she
ones,
is.
they won't force feed
She's
this
not.
birth control commercials down your throat.
What is that?
I don't know what it was. It might not be birth control.
It was Pfizer.
People look up to you. They rely on you. No one can imagine how hard that is. Do you do anything for yourself? Are you ever able to take a minute to read or to listen
gonna
to
cry?
music or something to
She
sort of
looks
give
like she's going
yourself
through
that,
horrible.
a moment?
I have such moments important to be in silence, to be alone. Alone, how can I be alone? Alone, I can be with music, it's true, or with a book. And early in the morning, when there are no sounds in
No air raid
or
sirens.
no people, nobody. I mean, the people, our staff. I mean,
Blah blah blah. I don't
nobody
care to
is
hear this. I want. Who's his favorite band? What is it? It says classic rock. Did he name
They
anything?
want to make you watch this video.
I hope Tucker asked Vladimir Putin the same exact question verbatim.
He's like, the Bee Gees. That'd be the best.
No, right. Who's going to name a Russian
Taylor
band?
Swift.
This guy's going to name an American band or like a
Yes.
European band. They're different people completely.
It's such a psyop, even down to like what he's wearing, right? He always has to be ready for battle.
He never takes off this uniform, even though when he's traveling, he's nowhere near any battlefield. Like,
I don't think he's ever anywhere near the battlefield.
That's true.
I think
Yeah.
this guy is a TV character.
He is.
Yeah, I mean, he literally was. He played the president on TV. But I think I don't think this guy's ever seen anything close to conflict. They probably have in a secure location because he's basically you guys have seen Hunger Games, right?
Yeah.
In the second one, when they get Katniss out, of the games, they're like, keep her in the basement and have her make videos. They don't want her going to war because if she dies, she's their propaganda tool. She's a rallying cry. That's what they're trying to do with this guy. I got to be honest. He's the least inspiring guy they could have gotten. I mean, seriously? Couldn't they have gotten some like Dolph Lundgren type Ukrainian dude who's like filming propo videos on the
like
front
hot
line?
Ukrainian chick.
is that? I was gonna say, which one was him?
Well, they tried that with a trans woman, and that was like,
yeah.
but it was to pander to the liberals and the left in the United States so they could ask for money.
Yeah.
I'll say, who was Hayden Panettiere married to? She was married to a Ukrainian guy who was like, I'm going to the field or whatever else. Like,
But
much better than Zelensky.
They need like a 6'5" ripped dude who's standing there, holding a weapon, being like, as the president, I will make sure. And then they film fake videos where he's on the front line leading the troops. This is just some guy who's in a park all the time and he's like not doing anything.
Well, he walks around places that seem staged and well lit, looking sort of sad and pensive. And so really, in that sense, he's doing exactly what they need him to.
Remember that video that came out where the background was completely still and the trees weren't moving in the wind? And they were like, people were like, yo, this looks like a green screen. And they were like, no, it's not. It's not a green screen. What are you talking about?
You don't understand Ukraine. In our culture, our trees don't move in the wind.
The wind
There
is
no
different.
wind.
Yeah.
Russia has stolen our wind.
The trees can't blow because they're mad at Russia. That's the state of the world, I
They're
guess.
still in protest for the things that we're suffering. Like, it just becomes so ridiculous. And I think you're right. The amount of money that we're spending on Ukraine, considering this is what they're doing, which is just to sort of he has gone on so many international trips being like, please, money. He's like a professional fundraiser for his country. And it seems crazy that when Tucker Carlson is like, well, I want to talk to the other side, everyone's like, how could you do this? Possible sanctions, like, hysterics.
I just had an idea for something I would love to make if we had the means. And it's like, you take that scene and then halfway through, you just zoom in on Zelensky and Aaron Burnett and you play like slowly increasing romantic music with no dialogue. And they're just looking at each other and then it escalates.
There was some romantic undertones.
Right. But then you have the Dolph Lundgren style guy, and we'll film a different scene where he comes in and goes, Zelensky, get away from her. She's mine.
Or it's
You
Putin.
yeah, it's Putin. He comes in, he's like, you cannot have her. She is mine. And then it just soap opera style, then Aaron Burnett is like, Putin, you can't be here. You died in that safari when your brother contracted malaria and then gave it to you. No, I survived with this. And then he holds up like a golden the Holy Grail.
Didn't Justin Trudeau try to make fun of Putin? He was at some international gathering of whoever cares, and there were these photos of like Putin shirtless on horseback that had come out. A little, whatever, man, like a little try hard, but okay. And Justin Trudeau tried to make fun of him for them. He's like, maybe we should all take it. It was just like the most ridiculous, obvious jealousy. I just find the hysterics around this whole thing deeply confusing. And I think ultimately trying to make Putin the bad guy is the only way they can try to keep the narrative going of this is something Americans should pay attention to.
Well, it's because we're at war.
I'm
Like
confused.
if Tucker Carlson interviewed, like, I don't know, the president of, Tajikistan or something, or what, I don't even do that. I don't even know if they have a president. Nobody would care. They'd be like, whatever. But Tucker Carlson interviewed Vladimir Putin, and we're at war with Russia. So naturally, they're freaking out.
I want to know why. I still want to know why we're still at war. So was it to diminish Russia's power, or is it to take control of the region? Is it both? I mean, it would be a both thing.
Well, it's both.
Like,
Yeah,
is
literally.
it really like to full military global dominance right now? Because they're trying to do this new world order thing where they have all of us kind of technocratically bow to our overlord. But like, why don't they just get the U.S. and Russia to go along with it? I don't understand why they're making them fight.
It could be that it's all fake conflict. I don't know.
I also just think it's such a double standard. I know I make everything about China. That's the war room rubbing off on me. But, it is really hypocritical. What was it, just 1 or 2 months ago that, you have Xi Jinping, right, coming to San Francisco, getting the red carpet rolled out for him. And I think you make the point precisely. It's like we're basically at war, right? Russia, Ukraine. That's why it's that's why it's not okay for Tucker to interview Putin. So then China's obviously at war with us. Yeah, it's not necessarily kinetic. It's more of the unrestricted warfare type, certainly information warfare. So then why is it okay to have Xi Jinping on American soil and roll out the red carpet for him and have media outlets interview him and have them take cash from Chinese Communist Party? It's such a double standard, and it goes back to the original premise, which is that it's all about narrative control and suppression.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.